Hey, it's Bruce Hills, new skills, new you. And I thought I had a great idea. I thought I had a new idea, more importantly. I thought to myself, what if I put together some kind of block, matrix, grid, better questions quadrant, right? And I thought to myself, if I could very simply teach people how to ask better questions through a diagram that's four squares stacked on top of each other, I'm like, man, this would be revolutionary. Well, fun fact, if you Google, actually, let's do it. Let's do it together. Let's go to our good friend Google, and we're going to talk about asking better questions. We're going to talk about old ideas and new ideas. So first of all, if you type in asking better questions, oh, I can spell, but I can't type. I got better questions, better you. That's interesting. Asking better questions at Amazon. Let's take a look at this one. Ooh, asking better questions for the Bible. Interesting. The art of asking better questions. Asking Better Questions, the second edition. That's 2026. Good leaders ask great questions. I really want to reach out to John Maxwell and do a version for like good entrepreneurs. Ask great questions. Ask powerful questions. Right. Ask. So this isn't a new concept. The title of my next book is Better Questions, Better Clients. And let's put that up on the screen. So it's catchy, right? Better questions, better clients. Available at www.askingbetterquestions.com. Funny enough, better questions. And the concept is, how do we create a deeper level of clarity? How do we increase our confidence? How do we improve our communication in order to attract the type of clients we want to keep? The type of clients we want more of. That's the goal of the book. And I'm working on building resources around that concept, around asking better questions. So I had to change, I had to pivot away from just asking better questions. As you see, that's been done a few times. But what's interesting, of all the applications, there really isn't better questions, better clients. I was like, okay, I've got time. How do we, whether we're a customer success leader, a startup founder, a maybe a SDR or BDR manager. We've got coaching questions, questions that sell. I really don't want to write another sales book, but a set of self-reflection questions that help us grow our business, right? We don't need more salespeople. We do need that clarity and confidence and effective communication with our internal teams and our external customers, future customers. And I didn't see that when I did a search, so I had to create it. I had to write it myself. If it doesn't exist, create it. So then I said, okay, how do I get people excited about the book? How do I teach them why it's important so they'll grab a copy? And here's the thing, it's not to sell you something, it's to show you. So let me see, normal text. There's a font I like. Well, not a font necessarily, but a strike through. Hmm. Let's see here. How would I find strike through? Strike through tag. Alt Shift 5. Thank you. Sometimes it's not having the answer, it's knowing what question to ask to find the answer. So not to sell you something, to show you like, hey, here's why this is important. Here's how better questions help you get better clients. So if you want to get here, let's highlight this in green. This is the path. Let's highlight that. The boring part gets you the desired results. So I thought to myself, I was like, oh, I have an idea. I've got an idea, a new way to approach questions. So I thought of a name and flash some inspiration. about the question quadrant. Whenever I have a new idea, I always Google it first. I try not to steal anyone's idea. I do my best to operate in integrity. And if you look here, it looks like someone thought of it already. So I looked, and it talks about closed questions, open questions, questions about the text, questions about life. That's good. I'll come up with great questions for kids. I love how specific that application is. Question questions builds different skills. Looks like that's an extension of the kids coach. I like this one. Textual questions versus intellectual questions. So I'm like, okay, the question quadrant has been done. We'll see. Now, another question is, has it been trademarked or copywritten? So what about the question matrix? So a bit fewer results here. I really miss when they used to show you the number and title of results. Like this one. Hmm. What if we do the question square? I'm thinking about names. What does a square question mean? Someone with them sent you an emoji, your device doesn't support. Okay. The question square might be useful. And whenever I have an idea, I look to see other people have had similar ideas. And that's when you know you've got an innovative idea. Not necessarily a new idea, but a new combination of old questions. So what I want to do, let's see if I can start a whiteboard. And we're going to create this concept together. There we go. New whiteboard. Beautiful. Let's just draw a line here. Actually, let's do this. Let's do squares. One square here. And do four squares. I'm going to introduce my question square quadrant. We'll come up with a name later. Let's build it first. We'll name it later. You could spend 90% of your effort on the name and then there's nothing inside of the book, right? Just the title and a cover. And what I realized was most people are familiar with asking closed-ended questions. I could spell, but I can't type. Here we go. Closed-ended questions. And then most professionals, especially I work with a group of mental health professionals building a business, they're really good at asking questions. So if you're watching this, you're like, oh, I already know how to ask questions. Yeah, you do. That's why I created this question is ask better questions. I'm going to assume you're already asking questions. I'm going to teach you how to ask better questions so you understand what closed-ended questions are. You understand what open-ended questions are. Do you understand why we use either one? Do you understand what we use each of those for? And on top of that, are you familiar with concrete questions? That may be a new one for you all. Not because you don't know, it's because I made it up. I made it up. So let me just draw this out real quick. Thank you for your patience. Because I'm going to keep this. I might put it in, what's the word I'm looking for? I put in as a download or something. And then context questions. Beautiful. All right, we got ourselves a visual aid, a graphic. All right, so let's stay here. Closing-ended questions. We know this. They can be answered with yes or no. Open-ended questions. they can be answered with a story, right? Something bigger than yes or no. Now, here's where we explore some new territory, some old ideas. We're putting language to it so you can use it on purpose. Concrete question asks us for data. It asks us for information, specific information. There's generally only one answer. Think of, what is your date of birth? What's your email address? How tall are you? There's generally only one answer, and an answer that generally doesn't change, which is why I name them concrete questions. And because I love alliterations, the next version is context questions. Context questions ask why. They want us to understand the motivation and a reasoning behind something. Now, what's interesting is either of these can be closed or open. These are how we ask, and these two are why. All right? How we ask versus why. Oh, I can move this around. That's good to know. Okay. What does a concrete question ask? I already asked a couple. Let's see if I can. Let's do this again. All right. What is your date of birth? What was the other one? How tall are you? And we'll just use those two for an example. So we've got two open-ended questions. Here's a hint. Open-ended questions usually start with who, what, where, when, why, or how. They start with an adverb. Closed-ended questions usually end, or it's usually start with a verb. Do you, would you, did you, are you, can you, right? They usually start with a verb. Is there? You usually start with a verb and can be answered yes or no. So you'll see these on surveys a lot. Did you enjoy your visit? Right? And either of these isn't right or wrong. We just want to be able to ask them purposefully, with intention, skillfully. Now so let's pause here. You may have questions, comments, concerns. Concrete questions are to get a specific information. A closing the question isn't the better way or worse way to ask this. We want to do it on purpose and recognize that yes or no response limits the conversation. So let's do, that's a note. Can we put a note somewhere? Comment. Good questions create deep conversations. That's really the goal. That's really what we're trying to accomplish. Good questions create deep conversations, and conversations create clients. So the better we are asking questions, the better are we getting answers. Whether it's self-reflection questions for our business growth, which I talk about in my book, Better Questions, Better Clients, or they're questions to engage with another person, and we're building connection through conversation. So context questions, oh, I don't need a comment anymore. Let's go back to a text. Context questions, understand why. I don't love how that's phrased, but this is an example. And I do all these live without editing, so that's what we're going to get. Do you have the final say or decision? Let's do one more. Is this important to you? All right. I want to understand why they're doing something or their motivation behind doing something. There we go. So let's some close-ended questions to understand some context, especially when it comes to a sales conversation. Now let's go over here. Open-ended question. This really, if I can highlight this. Eraser, smart drawing. Interesting. All right, we'll come back to that. Um, this is where we want to stay in this quadrant right here. Context questions. What do you love most about your current service? I don't even need to know what it is, right? Whether I'm selling software or um, insurance or physical fitness training. What do you love most about your current service? This understands our why and understands our motivation. And one thing a lot of sales training spend time on is the pain, but we don't look at the promise. And I talk about this in Better Questions, Better Clients. Actually, you know what? While I'm thinking about it, let me share my screen. It says it'll close the whiteboard for everyone. That's going to be okay. Let's go back to here. Let's go back to our good friend Google. Just in case you wanted to, it's www. Let's see here. AskingBetterQuestions.com. I want to shout out everyone that has pre-ordered the book. If you're watching this before June 15th, um, hard copies will be available end of June. And so you can visit AskingBetterQuestions.com, and I'll put a link in the bio to explore some of these concepts in depth. Not just this one isn't about how to ask the questions as much as it is which questions to ask, and how to use them growth strategy for your business. All right, I'd be remiss if I didn't, at least give you a chance to say, why does he keep talking about this book? I'm actually really excited about this book. I've used it to help founders, startup founders, insurance brokers. Who else have I worked with? And it's the most random people. A book publisher. I've tested it across, customer success leaders. I've tested it across industries so that the truths are broad enough to be useful for a wide group of people, but specific enough to be more valuable. I don't want it to be so vague that it just helps you move forward an inch. I want it to help you move forward a mile. All right, let's go back to the whiteboard. Here's one more that I love to ask. So in the book, there's a concept of the promise. Yes, going back in the circle. Where are we going to end up because we ask these questions? Where are we going to end up because you work with me? Right? That's the promise has outcome. So this question is very powerful because even if things aren't going badly, if the proverbial or is it metaphorical house is not on fire, they still have motivation to work with you. They still have a reason to pay you and invest in your service. So a context question is, if you could change or improve, use the language that makes sense for you, one thing, what would it be? Right? Beautiful. Again, understanding their why, understanding their motivation. Because if they say nothing, they may not be a great fit for you. But if they say, well, it would be nice if they're telling you the reason they are going to work with you. So all these questions can be valuable in any area of your life, personal relationships, spouse, partner, children. I usually focus on the workplace and business. The skill is life changing. One new skill will change your life. But the concept, we're specifically applying to your business. So these questions really capture why they would move forward. They capture why they would do business with you, why they would make a change. So I love asking these questions. I really wish I could highlight these in purple or something. So let's just grab a little sticky note and put it here. And we're just going to put in bold, let's do caps lock, important. Right? This is where we want to stay. Not that these are better or worse. This is where we want to spend the most time. That's where we want to put the most effort. If you can get 4 of these questions that you ask every potential client, every prospect, every time, you will be light years. Light years is a distance, not a measurement of time. Light years ahead of where you were last year. Just 4 of these questions, 4 good open-ended context questions. You will turn more conversations into clients. You will hear yes more often. How often is up to you. It's how often you're using. Okay. That's our question. We'll come up with a name together. Question matrix, maybe. We'll think of something. Recap. Questions create conversations. Better questions, better conversations. Conversations turn into clients. So, very simply, better questions, better clients. That's the mission. That's the goal. If we can help you, it's not implementing some expensive software. It's not some complicated sales methodology. It's not, right, using artificial intelligence, all of which can be useful in their own time and place. However, one thing you can do, if you're listening to this right now, is ask better questions. That only takes clarity. It takes confidence. It takes effective communication. That doesn't take a dollar to implement, but the ROI is exponential. Exponential growth, revenue on your business. Now, again, making no promises, right? Results are not guaranteed. The results may vary. I know that this is where it starts. This is where growth accelerates for your business. So when I tell you, hey, I'm Bruce Hill, new skills, new you, I believe one new skill will change your life. Asking better questions is a skill. Asking better questions is a skill that will transform your life and business. And when I tell you I make sales simple, this is exactly where we start. This is exactly where we start. I hope this helped you get a little closer to those clients that you want to keep and those clients you want to have more of. All right.